Welcome to another More Than Walking video podcast discussion, where we seek to encourage dialogue on a variety of topics with the unique perspectives of people with spinal cord injuries and other disabilities. It is our goal for these conversations to make us think critically and for us to all leave with a newfound sense of belonging in a world where we have more things in common than we do different. Tonight's topic is Art Imitates Life, when a mosaic comes together. And I'm your host, Corey Feasley, aspiring artist here in the great state of Connecticut. Before everybody introduces themselves, I want to take the time out to thank Signy and McGarry for coming alongside of us and partnering during this podcast. She's the one responsible for sending out the materials that some of us will be using to paint and illustrate our depiction of what it means and what it represents as International Day of Persons with Disabilities is happening during the course of the month of December. So Signia, if you could just tell us briefly about yourself, and then afterwards we'll just go around and introduce others.
Well, briefly, I was a long-term Connecticut resident, about 50 years, moved to Florida last March. I retired about 10 years ago after teaching at Quinnipiac in the School of Health Science, mostly science classes. And actually met Jonathan in some of the work that I did at Quinnipiac. We co-taught a class together at Quinnipiac. And so after all my years of sort of being in health sciences, I'm absorbed now with art and art classes, and I'm excited to share a few what I consider valuable tools for producing artwork for an avocational purpose. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll just kind of go around. Nikita.
Hi, everybody. Nikita Rose from Connecticut, T4. And I am inspiring to be an entrepreneur as far as baking. I love to bake. Cool. And I'm just happy to be here, ready to color, get my artistic side on.
Nice. Rebecca, how about yourself?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Torres. I'm joining from the Chicago area. I have a spinal cord injury too, from C5 through 7 for, I think it's going to be 27 years now.
Wow.
And I'm an artist, so I'm excited to join today. Thanks.
Nice. Tahira. Can you hear us, Tahira?
Hi, yeah, sorry, my computer was actually muted. Oh, where'd the video go? Computer was actually muted. Hey, you guys. Oh, Rebecca Torres. Wow, the one and only superstar.
Cool. We've known each other on social media forever.
I know, it's been years. Where do you live?
In Chicago.
You are still in Chicago, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's good to see your face.
Yeah.
The space heater is evident.
What's that about a space heater?
Well, Chicago, cold.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. It's cold.
Hey, Carrie.
Hi.
I'm Sandy. I'm C4, C5. Got into a car accident back in 2015. So I've been paralyzed about, next year will make 8 years. I have a 16-year-old son who keeps me on my toes. Just got him some braces, so we've been dealing with a lot of, I can't eat that, you can't eat that, you got to do this, you got to do that. So a lot of stay on top of it, got to go clean your teeth to make sure your braces are or whatnot. So yeah, life still goes on even after paralysis. So thanks.
That's a fact. And Tahira, just tell us about yourself.
Name's Tahira Johnson. I was injured in 2005 in a roller derby game in Chicago, and I've lived in Oklahoma City now for a long time. I live alone downtown in a high rise, which is a new experience. So, and I work part-time for the state. And I'm C4, C5 incomplete.
Nice. Glad to have you aboard. John.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Jonathan Sigworth from Stratford, Connecticut. C7 complete. And next February, I'll be 17 years old, spinal cord injury wise. So happy to be on the up and up.
Yes, sir.
Glad you guys are all here.
Awesome, awesome. As I said earlier, I'm Corey Feasley, aspiring hip hop artist here in the great state of Connecticut. I am a C4, C5 complete quadriplegic. I sustained my injury 17 years ago, June 12th, 2005, in a diving accident. And my anniversary will mark 18 years next year. And I'm just very excited to be here sharing our different experiences tonight. And, you know, it's going to be cool just from an artistic standpoint. What we'll get into. So thank you guys again for being a part of this discussion. Before I go into my opening, I would like to say that, you know, part of the title when it came to me, I thought that it was important because, you know, when the mosaic comes together, right, we often say, you know, cliche wise, that we're all broken people, that somehow we're fractured in different ways. And it's true. I think some of our parts that are fractured and broken aren't necessarily visible, which is okay, but we all have that one common thread that we share. But when you look at mosaic art and you see, you know, these different pieces that make up a whole picture, it's a wonderful thing. It's beautiful. It takes time to actually do that. I have a piece of artwork, I can't show it right now, but it's of Bob Marley and it's pixelated. And my friend did it like with chalk and each little square. She did it. I can't even begin, especially because Bob Marley has dreads. So she did that like individually to create it. But some people have an artistic vision like that. And it's just cool to be able to see. And I love the fact that here we are, the quote unquote broken pieces of society, but we're coming together to make something truly beautiful. And it's awesome. So Winston Churchill once said, "Happy are the painters, for they shall not be lonely. Light and color, peace and hope will keep them company to the end of the day." Writing and painting were some of his favorite pastimes. After his daughter Marigold's death, this was also perhaps a form of solace for him. Art has a way of capturing the triumphs and tribulations of a moment in history or someone's own personal story, and can be cathartic. As we reflect back on the year and in recognition of International Day of Persons with Disabilities, we want to discuss the highs and lows while illustrating our emotions in art form. The International SCI community is a diverse group of people full of vibrant colors and beauty. When these broken pieces come together, we create a splendid mosaic that is worthy for the world to see. So question one, people with disabilities are often stigmatized. Broad assumptions are made and many questions arise out of curiosity. One such question deals a lot with appearance. For many of us with a disability, we are accompanied by maybe a wheelchair walker or a caregiver, and some of us have been left disfigured as a result of our injury. If beauty is in the eye of the beholder, how has your perception of a person's looks changed since the injury? And Signian, if you have like an example of kind of like ways that we can use some of the materials that you supplied us with as we go around answering that question, that'd be great if you could share that.
So I want to talk about the supplies that I sent, and then some other options with that same product line, the Caran Dash line. The crayons that I sent are water soluble, and so that allows with either using a paintbrush or a Q-tip with a bit of water, or even just spraying it with a light mist of water will change that crayon line to look like a watercolor image. Now that same product line, Caran Dash, also makes another crayon that is water resist. So what you can play with is this idea of doing a design, and that's not going to change at all, and then putting the water soluble colors on top of that. So you get some translucence and transparent qualities. I can also use a very inexpensive, they're called China markers. They're made out of a kind of a wax, and they will also act like a water resist tool to use. in combination with the water-soluble materials. I sent people a Fabriano watercolor postcards. Obviously, that's kind of a small surface area to work on, but Fabriano is a good quality, but relatively inexpensive watercolor paper to look into. And then the last thing I wanted to do with the first question is to show a portrait of an artist that I met just this past 2 weekends ago. And I don't know if people can, is this in a position where people can see?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, because I'm not seeing it on the screen. And so this is a portrait of a person. And you might say it's kind of hard to see the person, and it's quite complex, but I think intriguing insofar as using, let's see if I can tilt it. There we go. Using scribbles and splashes of color to create an image that's pretty darn interesting. So here's a self-portrait that says a lot, I think. Okay.
And that was all done like kind of with those Caran d'Ache crayons?
No, he was using acrylic paints. I do think he used magic markers as well, not the Caran d'Ache. But this could very easily be achieved with the Caran d'Ache product line, in my opinion. You know.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. So Revica, like, what do you think? Like, how has your perception of a person's looks changed since you became injured?
I would have to say, like, for myself, definitely like body image was really a whole journey, I guess, like accepting what I look like. I had a really hard time seeing like my own reflection or like reflections. And if I was passing like a window or something and on the street and I could see it, like I would forget that I was disabled or that I used a chair until I saw it, and it was like shocking. And there's been times.
I've never heard anybody say that. I thought I was the only one. Like, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but like, I don't like looking in the mirror. I don't like looking at my reflection. Why do you think that is? Why did you used to feel like that?
Can you hear her, Rebecca?
She was on mute, I think.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I was just saying, I felt I still feel the same way. I can barely look at my reflection without cringing sometimes. I haven't heard anybody else talk about it, so I don't talk about it with people because my sister said I should just get over it. But it's like, I don't recognize myself sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's something we can. Thank you. I wasn't prepared with my art supplies. Just kidding. Yeah, I don't think it's something that's easy to get over and to like. I mean, it's taken me years, and I still feel like that sometimes. But and it's funny because I also sometimes see friends of mine that, or like I'll see people on the street that look like a friend of mine who's a wheelchair user or who has a disability. And I've wanted to be like, oh, hey, thinking like it's my friend. I'm like, oh, wait, that person's not in a chair. It's a different person. So like, I also like sometimes forget and don't see it. So I don't know if that has happened to anyone, but yeah, I think body image is just such a huge thing for us.
Yeah, I mean, like that. I think that's true, and I always wonder, like, is that more, what men go through, what females go through? And Nikita, how about yourself? Like, did you ever like feel that way?
I still feel that way. Perception. I mean, everyone is still beautiful in their own way, but like she said, like Rebecca said, it's like I don't recognize myself. Like I see myself, but it's like I don't really want to see myself the way I am now. I haven't really accepted it, and sometimes I don't really want to accept it. So it's hard, but then I have to say to myself, "You're still beautiful, with or without it, even though it's still attached to you." My perception have definitely changed when it comes to me, not anyone else. If anything, I get more inspired. Like I feel like sometimes when it comes to my spasms, I get a little embarrassed when I get spasms if I'm in public, because I feel like people will watch me, or, it's like, oh, what's going on with her? So yeah, perception is everything. And it still matters if people stop and stare.
I think that's true. John, how about yourself? And remember, guys, like while we're doing this, feel free to express this in art form. That's definitely why we're here. You know what I mean? So we want to see what you guys come up with, at the end of our conversation. But John, like, what about yourself? Like, just from a guy's perspective, like, did you deal with like body image issues at all?
Yeah, I lost weight because of my injury, and beforehand I had trouble maybe being as fit as I wanted to, and all of a sudden I became much skinnier than I wanted to. But I always joke. Well, I'm not really joking. I often tell people, well, spinal cord injury can be the best weight loss program you ever enroll in. Yeah, I mean, I guess my first time out in a mall, I think it was like one of those field trips they send you on when you're about to leave the rehab hospital.
Yep.
I felt very like out there, and I was very aware of like if I was not sitting up straight in my chair, I felt really bad about it. I think for me, playing wheelchair rugby really helped with my self-perception of those things. Like started like giving permission, getting encouraged to feel like a badass in a wheelchair really helped.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be with wheelchair. It doesn't have to be with like something aggressive like rugby. I mean, it could be with anything. But for me, it was, okay, my identity as a wheelchair user was something positive. And so anything that you get involved with that helps reinforce like your identity as a person in a wheelchair is like a really badass thing. Like, yeah, rock that, that is transformative.
That's dope. I like it. It's a badge of honor. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, you know what I mean? I think surviving an extraordinary catastrophic accident says a lot about a person, the way that they continue afterward. How about yourself, Sarah? How did you change? How did your perception change once you got injured?
Oh, I agree with some of the things other people have said. Not so much my perception of others, but more myself, I think. And also having a higher level injury too is I really never forget about it, because it's more of an effort to really do anything, to eat and brush my teeth and all of that. I can do those things myself, but everything just is an effort. And then also now with a disability and aging, it's getting a little bit worse, where I just have to be careful. But yeah, I'm not very self-conscious anymore. I'm actually trying not to end up with a pressure sore on my sitting bone. I'm in a motorized chair, so I'll just tilt back anywhere now, like on a sidewalk. Like, I just don't care. And sometimes people just stare at me, and occasionally they ask me if I'm okay, if I need anything. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. So
that's funny.
There's not much shame in my game at this point.
Right.
I just rather not have a pressure sore than worry about offending anyone,
And that's true, because I was on the phone with Signy and I was getting ready to go into Lowe's, and this guy's like, "Are you okay? You need help?" I was like, "No, like I got here. Like, yeah, I'm quite fine, sir. Like, oh, what happened? Are you that guy from Rutgers?" I'm like, "No. Like, why does everybody keep mistaking me with this gentleman?"
Rutgers?
There's like a football player. He played for Rutgers, and he became a quadriplegic.
And they think you're him?
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
Gosh. Everywhere. I went to a Brooklyn Nets game, and these cats came up to me like, "Yo, you're that guy." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. Like, I just want to get to my seat." That's about,
you should say, "Yes, it's me. Free beer, please. Free pizza."
Might be some perks.
I might have to. But it's incredible. Like, about I figured out, and I want to ask Signy, and like just working with people with spinal cord injuries, but like I learned that I'm a bit vain, right? Like, you're going out on these day trips, and the first thing you're thinking about, like, they're gonna watch me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you learn a lot about what you value. And like Tahira said, like, it's better for me to do this pressure release and be back for 90 seconds than to try to be cool and stay seated at 90 and then go home. And now I have,
Okay.
an
Right.
issue on my issue bone. So, Signe, like working with people, how has your perspective changed?
In terms of
Like
thinking,
how you view people with disabilities?
well, it might sound kind of trite, but for me, I see the person, and the disability sort of becomes in the background, and the character of the individual, the personality of the individual just shines through for me, so that's how I have evolved in my interpretation of, or getting to have strong opinions about folks with disability being assets to society, like the rest of us all trying to get by.
Yeah.
And when someone mentioned aging, that's its own additional shock of acceptance of the changing body, and acknowledging that you're not young and invincible anymore, is a whole nother awareness of the reality of life is short and things changing, and how you cope with it, how you react to it is the challenge.
Definitely is. And it takes time to be able to learn how to deal with it. But, I think at some point in time, we experience regret, right? Maybe during a heated exchange, we've spoken hastily and we've quickly come to eat our words and did something out of spite only to face karma for our actions. Many of us wallow in regret because our injury hinges on the great possibility of being permanent with no recourse to go back and have a do-over. Many others see their accidents as a type of reset button. Have you guys ever viewed your personal tragedy, your injury, as a blank slate to start anew? And Sandy, I'll look for you to answer that.
I was still trying to process the first question, and then I didn't answer. And then
No,
now
you can add to it real quick. That's fine.
Huh?
I said you can add to it real quick. That's fine.
Yeah, because when it comes to perceptions, I'm sorry for going back, because my whole life has changed. It was a big culture shock. Imagine I felt like I was in the prime of my life, young 28-year-old girl, very attractive. So I used to get a lot of suitors. Now the attention level is completely gone. And unlike, Signian, she says that she opens arms to every person, regardless of the way they look and their creed and stuff. As much as I don't want to be biased towards people, I don't remember really interacting with disabled people when I was on my 2 feet. So I really didn't really have a great sense of opinion about it, other than when I was presented with around disabled people, I used to feel really weak. Like, imagine I was a nurse in the military, so I was always getting transferred from one place to another because I get queasy really easy. I can't see the sight of blood. I hate needles. And so when I see somebody like very disabled, it used to cause me to be very weak in the knees. Sometimes I'll even pass out. Like if I see something very disturbing,
Yeah.
I'll get really weak and sad and stuff. Now that I'm the disabled person, when people are looking at me and staring at me and have so much questions that sometimes I feel like it's none of their business, I try to have compassion for them, because curiosity, is something that people will always have when they see somebody like me, especially because I'm still pretty. I'm still kind of pretty. And when I'm sitting in my chair, if I'm looking some type of way, you can't even tell I'm paralyzed. Unless, because I'm in a wheelchair or whatever. But people are still basically very interested in what's going on. But they really ask questions that make me feel like, I don't know, it's just different. I don't like telling my story anymore sometimes. I don't want it to be the forefront of every conversation that I have when I meet people, or, when they see me. Oh my gosh, what happened to you? How long it's been? What's going on?
Yeah.
I get it, but I'm in a place where my life is going on. I'm still part of it. I still got to do this. I still got responsibilities. Disability is not part of my it's not a checklist for me or something that I have to worry about. I'm
Yeah.
already disabled, so I'm living in it. It's not something that I too much try to be too much of aware of.
Okay.
It get me depressed. Every time I think about how disabled I am and I have
Yeah.
to depend on other people, it causes me to be like, I'm ready for something else in life.
Nah, and I think all of us could definitely understand that because it's
Absolutely.
difficult waking up in the same thing. John, did you want to add to that?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, Sandy, I totally understand. And, like I would follow I would say I had to follow my mom around everywhere I went, when I was injured. And I went from, 19, first year living on my own, all of a sudden right back to diapers, being taken care of by my parents. And every time she met someone new and I was there, she would introduce me and tell them my story. And it just got like having my story like being the forefront of my mind, always being I don't know, those
The defining factor of who you are.
the defining factor of who you are. Yeah, it's exhausting. It's
Yeah.
absolutely exhausting. And I think what helped for me was like getting distance from my parents. Like
Wow.
me choosing
That's what
when
I ended up having
I
to.
talk it about. Yeah. I mean, and then I realized, it wasn't necessarily that like it was that conversation that was annoying me. It was that I had no control over when that conversation happened.
Oh,
Mm.
Jonathan, sometimes it's just time to say, zip it, Ma.
Mom, I love you.
However,
No, I mean this isn't an issue anymore because she still has those conversations all the time. She loves telling people my story. I don't mind. I don't have to hear it. But it's funny because like when I introduce myself, I often tell that story, but it doesn't make me feel bad because I'm the one telling it.
Yeah, you have the control.
That agency really helps. And so I wonder, like, sometimes just the way that we go into a room, the way we interact with people, we can have ways of pushing that conversation down the road.
So like, just want to jump to
Rebecca raised her hand.
Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that because what you said earlier too, like when you started to play rugby and like you felt like a badass and like that then like becomes part of your identity and like you start talking about those things that are important to you, not this thing that happened to you. Rather, it's like you are like those other things like become your identity. Because I remember I started doing yoga at one point, and at first I was like, okay, how am I even going to do this? Like yoga is for like bendy people that can move, and I'm paralyzed. And I started doing it, and like it was something that I really loved to do, and it became part of like my life. And I could talk to people about that, or I could talk to people about my art, or I could talk to people about other things, rather than having to lead with my story. But yeah, and then like Jonathan said, like I had control over what I was doing.
So in being able to share your story like on your terms, right? Did you ever feel like you have the ability to change the narrative in ways, just starting back over from whatever person you were when you were on your feet to the person that you are now? Did you ever feel like now you have the opportunity to help people see people with disabilities a little bit differently?
Me particularly, or anyone?
Yes, anyone. We'll start with you.
Yeah, but I also like I was 13 when I was injured, so I grew up with a disability, and I sort of like obviously yes, it was a big change, and I had my identity pre-injury, but I also sort of grew into myself as a person with a disability, which I think there's definitely a lot of adjusting to do just being a teenager without an injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it may be different than someone who was injured later.
Nikita, how about yourself?
What was the question?
So like, did you ever look at your injury as a blank slate to start like, anew, like from whatever you were before, not to say that you were bad or anything like that, but now you have the opportunity to maybe explore different things because you have a different perspective on life?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it has in a way helped me break out of this shy shell that I was in growing up as a teenager. because I got injured at 17. So I was still trying to find my way in the world, still didn't know really too much about life. So I have advocated for myself. So I feel like I've grown a lot. Like Rebecca have said, I've grown a lot when it comes to this injury. I'm definitely learning a lot about myself every day, more and more. So it has helped. I feel like it has helped me in a way, open me up, helped me see the world a little bit better, be a little bit more cautious of things I wouldn't have been cautious of, a little bit more open about things I wouldn't be open about. So yeah, in a way, it has helped a lot.
That's cool. Tahira, how about yourself?
I'm sorry, the question was, what was it again?
Since you've been hurt, have you looked at your injury as a chance to like start back over? You know,
I
there's
see
one
what you're
part of
saying.
you just that, you know, you live this way. You're right up until your injury, and now you're kind of a new person. Have you ever looked at it like, you know, a chance to start back over?
Maybe to some with some things, I think you know, I used to be sort of hyper independent, not by choice really, but just growing up poor in a rough area in Chicago and being an only child. I was just sort of hyper independent, and now I do rely on people more, and that can be a good thing. I think I have more capacity now to be closer to people and maintain friendships, I think, because of the injury. So kind of being, in a way, the limitations have in some ways expanded my life, I would say, for the good. So
I was talking to, I don't remember who I was talking to just the other day. I was telling them that during my time as a paralyzed person, because I got injured when I was 28 years old, it's like less than 6 months before my 90th birthday. So all that most, I've lived a full life. I had already had 2 kids. I was married. I've been in the military. I went through a lot of life experiences before I got into my car accident. At the time I was working at a Christian school as a secretary with a whole bunch of kids and stuff. So I had a pretty enjoyable life. I love hanging out with all those kids and stuff and going to church, and it was my thing. My perspective now on all the things that's happened to me in my life, thank God I have a really strong spiritual sense and religious belief. I stick to what I believe, and I'm fixed to it. I've been in school. I learned about everything else, but the things that I hold true have brought me through every obstacle in my life. I believe that everything happens as it's destined to happen. We have up to so many choices to make, so that we will either reap the benefits of it or reap the consequences. There's a lesson in everything that we go through. And I was telling this person that regardless if I got disabled or not, life is always happening for everybody. And I would never want to regret what happened. Oh, I wish that never happened to me, or I don't regret any of the things that I've ever done throughout my whole life, because I feel like if I'm not winning, there's something obviously to learn from it. It's not
Right.
killing me, it's making you stronger in some kind of area. No
And
matter
that's something that I wanted to say, right? Because just having spent time with all of you through Zoom, you know, I think about things like, you know, John, if you never got hurt, you wouldn't have been able to introduce like the rugby in the different aspects of independent living that you do now through More Than Walking, and it's helped people. And it's also challenged this notion of that, you know, once you're paralyzed, you can no longer do anything. Rebecca, you have backbones going on. You know, there's so much that's happened. You know, I've heard you tell your story, Sandy, through vlogging and whatnot, and it's touching people, you know, left and right. Nikita, even with the videos you submit through More Than Walking, you know, people are viewing. They want to know, okay, what does it take to transfer from wheelchair to an SUV? You don't see that. Like, I know when I was hurt, they didn't really like want to show me certain things, right? It was like my parents had to sometimes speak up, like, all he can do is just range of motion. There's got to be something else. I know for me, like my trajectory was like going up as far as like in the Navy is concerned, but I also was being a little reckless, being that I was 22 when I got hurt. So for me, it gave me the opportunity to slow down a lot. And I'm a lot more, I would say, patient. I have my moments where it's just like I'm just frustrated as heck, but I'm just a lot more patient and I think things through so much more because I have to. It's like, somebody opens up the door and they don't open it all the way. I got to think, oh, okay, let me use my foot, make sure I don't bump my foot so I don't get a pressure sore. You think things through a lot, and it's a lot of problem solving. So for me, I look at it definitely as a chance to start back over. And so many people that I've had the opportunity to watch their videos and their interviews have said things like, the injury helped me slow down. If I didn't get hurt, I would be maybe dead.
Right.
It challenges you to be grateful as well.
Right.
Definitely.
Sometimes, like when my friends, like my homegirl, she just had a baby, and she was, complaining about certain things, and I reminded her some of the things that I go through on a basis. And I wasn't trying to take away from her ailments, but sometimes you have to be like, it could be worse. You could be dead. You could not be enjoying some of this stuff. Like one of the biggest problems I had when I was on my 2 feet, I was always on a goal, on a mission, always had something to get done. Looking at the bigger picture, like I'm not worried about right now. Now that I have to slow down, I have to enjoy the small things that make the big picture. I really have to have a coffee, enjoy the day to day, the one day at a time, the second after second, because those are what makes the whole journey. That's what makes the whole journey. Because even if you get to your goal, there's always going to be another goal and another goal and another.
Right.
Exactly. Awesome. I just want to say, Signia, I like how, when you apply the crayon and then the water, because I just did it on my paper. Like I think it's just cool, like how that takes place. But just moving on to the last question, right? So we're here for a reason. Like I said, we are the broken pieces that make this beautiful mosaic that's going on right now, and other people who are going to have the opportunity to view it will be inspired, and hopefully they'll look at us and say, you know what, life is not going to end simply because my life ended at this particular juncture, right? Like who I was, there's so much more to me, and clearly these individuals have explored that, and they're currently experiencing that despite the hurdles. But the phrase art imitates life means a creative work that was inspired by true events. You are the creative work, living a life consisting of actual events. If you could be any medium to express your story, i.e. a painting, sculpture, music, etc., what would it be and why? And Tahira, I would love for you to take that.
I was afraid you might pick me first because I wasn't, I really didn't get this question. If I could be any medium.
Like, so any form or usage, like, right? So some people like myself, I express my emotions through music, right? That's the conduit that I prefer because being able to rap over a beat and create and write, that's what I like to do. Some people use poetry. Others paint to express what they do. And some people don't even realize that they're doing it when they write or what have you. It's just something that they do. So that's more or less like if you, in the abstract, if you could put yourself in that position, what kind of art would you be?
It would be more a poem or a story, I think, since I can relate more to writing than to music or the fine arts. But I think it would be more something in written form, since that's kind of more my forte than the others. I think it would be some kind of writing. And I don't write like I used to, but I do enjoy it. So
cool.
Yeah, so I would say something in written form, definitely. What happened to Jonathan? Is he not here anymore?
No, he's right there.
Oh, hi. Okay. Just curious. Okay.
Well, John, you're next.
Oh no.
Sorry, John.
Oh man, I can relate to. Oh, I don't write as much as I used to, being a former English major. I don't know. I really like watercolors, man. I love. I think I would be a watercolor painting, and it would probably be the same colors. It would be fire colors and some crazy charcoal stuff. I don't know. I love how watercolors blend into each other, and you can start painting with one blob and it just morphs into something else. And the example that Signian showed at the beginning, I love works like that. You start drawing one thing and you just kind of see what it becomes. And I feel like that's kind of how life is, right? And, you never know what's going to happen to you tomorrow or the next day. And when it happens, a whole bunch of other opportunities open up and you just kind of build from that. And so that's how I love to paint when I do get the chance. Like I'm having the best time of my life right now. Painting with you guys, going off of, your thoughts and ideas. I love it. And so that's what I would be.
Nice. Nikita, how about yourself?
I probably would be food. I don't, something that has to do with the palate, because
I love it.
everybody loves to eat. Someone,
Yes.
so I would definitely entice the palate, get the taste buds working. Yes, food.
I love it. It just makes me think of honey buns. Like I'm an addict for some Hostess honey buns. Got to be
We
in the
can all
microwave
connect.
too.
I like crispy donuts, the warm.
Girl, don't get me started.
Yeah.
Wish we had Krispy Kreme.
I
close
wish
up
we
here.
did, right?
Oh my gosh, that red light go on.
You would have to work out more.
I know, right? I gotta have to get on my FES bike. Rebecca, how about yourself?
I think I would be a mix of lines and shapes, with like ink, but also music, because when I make art, I don't make any of it in silence. There's always like music that sort of guides me through it.
Yeah, I love music too. I think mine would be, I didn't realize how much I love to do hair until I couldn't do hair anymore. I started doing my hair when I was 7 years old. And when I used to get in a funk, because I dealt with a lot of mental illness and people around me and my family that dealt with mental illness as well. And I had really long hair, so I would just go sit in the mirror and braid my hair hours and hours. Sometimes it would take me 2-3 days just braiding my hair. And I didn't realize how much of an art form it was, because I'm always on some type of hair platform on YouTube. And then I came across this thing where they do like hair shows and stuff like this. And I seen this beautiful hair braid into thing. This thing looked like, she said it took like maybe 70, 60 hours to do. That's me right there. That's me. I'm a braided hair, intricate weave in and out type of, I love it. And I used to do I go back and look at all my pictures. I used to document a lot of my stuff, but I used to be really good at braiding. Really, really good at braiding, hair braiding. So I'd be a very intricate braid.
Yeah, hair is definitely an art form, especially when women start dreading their hair. It's beautiful, short styles, long styles, all of it when they start locking up and twisting. Like it's really nice, and it just shows off natural beauty, which I think is awesome. Signian, I would love for you to answer before we start closing.
Well, I think it would definitely be painting. I lose myself in the artistic effort and get in the zone and really enjoy creating. I think it's an interesting question too, to say, well, art is a reflection of life. Some people can understand their art in terms of what is motivating them.
Right.
Some people do not. It's just, it springs forth and they don't know what the meaning is. They just go for it. So yeah, for me, it's definitely painting.
Cool. Me, I just feel like I'm like a sculpture, and I'm constantly being chiseled until perfection, which is when I'm finished doing whatever it is that my purpose here is on earth. And I think that'll be the final mold, and whatever I leave behind is what people can interpret. They can say, okay, well, it looks this way to me, or it looks that way to another person. And I think it's like that through my music. I can say one line and it has multiple meanings to it, but it's also for the person to look at and gain something from it, because I want the application to be helpful and hopeful to your life, in the best way that I know how. But
it always is up to individual interpretation or perception.
right.
But the art form, the creator might have one idea in mind, but each individual that views that work is making their own interpretation or perception of a piece of work.
No, that's rightly said. Before we close, I just want everyone to try to take the time out and maybe put what you did up to the camera, so we can just have a quick look at it. And also, when you get the chance, just use your phone, snap a picture of it, because what we want to do is create a collage out of it and end up posting everything on More Than Walking's website to just showcase, like I said, the beautiful mosaic. We are all in separate places, right? So we're broken logistically. Our bodies are broken, but we're doing pressure release, right, Tara?
Right.
Regardless of people. You know what I mean? But we're having a conversation that's wholesome and it's much needed. So everybody take the time out, throw it up there in front of the camera. This is mine, if you can see.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
Hey, you guys. I didn't do anything. That's why I wasn't going to come tonight, but that's cool. Look at you guys. I don't have any supplies.
Oh,
but-
wow. Look at that. It's beautiful.
Right, you did all that just now, Corey?
No, I ain't gonna lie. Like my
Corey has
little
extra hands.
my little helper, my son Jojo, he helped me.
Oh, you cheated. You started last month, didn't you?
Nah, you know what? Nah, because they got to go to bed. But my beautiful wife has been assisting me as well. So we've been over here, just been busy and whatnot. But it's awesome, guys.
And after the podcast, I'll send everyone an email and you can respond, take a snap of your art thing. And if you still want to do an art thing, you can in any medium, and send it in. Just respond to the email. And it would be curious if you wanted to write something. It's like what you were thinking or what you were reflecting on, just to get your take on it. That would be cool.
Awesome. But listen, thank you guys for participating in our More Than Walking video podcast discussion. Stay tuned in and join us next month and sign up for the More Than Walking newsletter at morethanwalking.com to learn about the topic we will be covering next. Until next time, remain encouraged, stay hopeful, and above all else, be aware. Take care, guys, okay?
Peace.
You too. Thanks, you
Happy
guys.
holidays.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.